Right. Right. Perfect. Well, welcome everybody to our May meeting. It looks like from the group here today, this is primarily officers, and I think that's, at least from perception, that seems to be the trend for the kind of community meetings. Just as a quick kind of question for John and team on the community calls, what has attendance been like historically?
I'm going to say 30, just out of memory.
It's varying. It has been from 25 to the high of 50 or 55 people sometimes at the early
Fair.
calls.
Okay. Would anyone be opposed to, for next month's meeting, we do like a hybrid? So that it's like, if you're in Houston and available, we'll kind of meet at one central location and then have the virtual option as well.
I would love to meet in person. If there's a place for that.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Good deal. Well, then we'll kind of coordinate and set that up for next time. Just so we can all meet in person, get to know each other a little bit better, and hopefully kind of continue the progress that we've been making. Good. Okay, so agenda for today, fairly similar to the usual. Got the section update, leadership update from SPE. We'll be adding a new chairperson. We'll touch base on the technical section refocus like we talked about last time. We have a subcommittee update from DWIS, and then we'll talk about a couple of the upcoming events for the section. So starting with the section update, I'm actually going to hand it over to Cody. He is our membership chairperson to go over kind of what our trends are for membership right now.
Hey, good morning, guys. So this was my first time looking at this, and you know, I've met with Blakely a few times and Riam as well yesterday, and you know, I think there's some changes that we need to make in the KPIs and what we're tracking with membership in general. So we've started to have those conversations, and it'd be good to get everyone's input as well. For me personally, membership growth or that total number is not as important. If you, in fact, I would put it low on the importance list versus engagement and, you know, how active the current members are and what they're getting from the section. Because we could have 10,000 members, and if no one does anything, then what's the point? Versus 40 extremely active, you know, high delivery type of members. So you don't really get that from the current KPIs and what we're tracking. And we don't know exactly how we'll track engagement, but it's something that, you know, I really want to do. Overall, you know, in the last month, at least from March to April, we added 182 new professional members and 30 new student members. Looking at the annual changes, I think it's a little bit deceiving because you have the renewals that happen every year and you get a drop off. And if you're comparing a December to December number, you know, there's a lot of external factors as well. But I think one thing I personally would really like to do is start changing, just looking at total numbers and, you know, trying to hang our hats on, you know, how many friends we can get versus our impact, our engagement, and kind of the passion around the members that we do have. But overall, you know, added a pretty good chunk of members. I broke it down per company category in the change form. And playing with the website, it's something that I want to explore a little bit and see if we can get this raw data. If we can plug it into, I guess that's a question I have for the group is, you know, how is this data accessed? Can we get a way to get this into a Power BI platform or something like that, so that we can get a little bit more insightful metrics, and just pose it to the group what you think about, really focusing on engagement over growth.
I like the concept for sure. Instead of it just being like how many people, how big of a group, a gang we can have, but essentially how much people are participating, I think is more important too. I agree with you, Cody.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Demetrius.
I like the idea as well. I think we need to somehow weigh both factors, having a closed group that is fully engaged, let's say 50 people that are, but not everybody else knows what we are doing, has its own weaknesses, So I think we need to have both metrics somehow weighed into a score. Overall community size, new members and young members, as well as engagement. Now, the challenge for the engagement will be how do we objectively measure that? Is it attendance? Is it hours? Is it papers published? Is it, authorship? People putting their names on reports and contributions and whatever. So that there is some work to be done there, but I love the idea.
Yeah. I think when we've discussed it so far, it's been like the North Star metric will always be increasing membership, right? I think that's kind of the overall goal. But in order to get there and to build kind of like excitement and traction for the technical section, I think we all had agreed that like the engagement and making sure that we're really like have some good involvement from a greater community will naturally drive that number higher.
Yeah.
And Maury, I saw you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, I was more or less saying the same thing. I think the way we've measured engagement has been largely, frankly, around the subcommittees. I think we need to revisit that, right? And I think that's what everyone was saying, is I think there's all kinds of engagement that we can track, that we should look at. And we as we move forward, we should, I think, revisit the engagement process just being through subcommittees, right?
Yeah.
And that's also, I mean, this sounds kind of like a light engagement, but I know just using the LinkedIn page, I know Blakely and Cody, we talked about that yesterday as well, like how many people are reacting, how many people are reading, even if it's a light engagement, but like just seeing how many people are seeing content and stuff from us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sam, I see you have your hand up as well.
Hey, yeah. So I thought since everybody was bringing up measuring engagement, I thought of an easy way that we can do right now, like start displaying the attendance to these meetings and showing a trend line, like how you asked Blakely, like how much. So I know, like we know the number of people who attend every single meeting, right? Both the officers and the general meeting. So along with this slide, we can maybe show a trend of how that engagement is, right?
Yeah, I like that idea as well. I think that should be easy enough between like Cody and Greg to track.
Yeah, like Greg sends out a spreadsheet with all the number of attendees after every meeting. So
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Fred, I think you were next.
Yeah, I've been engaged with students quite a bit, and they're intimidated. They don't want to join because they don't think they can contribute. And then some of them are kind of afraid to get involved. So there may be some ways that we can play around to get them more engaged.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a good point, because you hear the word automation, and I think right away everyone thinks like software architect or developer, and it takes everything. I mean, it's you have to have people with drilling backgrounds, people with IT backgrounds, a whole range of things, and maybe softening that message a little bit to students where it will help them grow their network and just exposure to where the industry is going and the future of everything, and not, you don't need to be a hardcore programmer to be able to get involved with, the automation process.
Demetrios, I think you were next.
Yeah, just wanted to add that measuring the engagement is half of the picture, but how do we drive the engagement up? I think that's while we are at it, we might as well try to find ways how to make people engage,
That's a
Right.
big topic that we discussed, where if we're not doing anything and we don't have anything that provides value to members and to the industry in general, it doesn't matter if people are engaged, and also they won't stay engaged if it fizzles out and nothing's happening. So we
Yeah.
actually had talked about, having a smaller group and really defining the goals, the mission, and what those actions are before pushing the engagement process, so that we don't, it's the first impression is everything, or, continue to keep people engaged. If you don't have something for them to engage with, then
Yeah.
you're going to lose them.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting discussion, and it comes to my mind, myself, but also what people are saying, is that measuring engagement is multifaceted. I like Sam's idea, actually. I think that's something we really need to do. And so, the numbers from attendance of the officer board meeting, the numbers from the community split as officers and board and other community people, I think that's a good idea. So I would put them start with maybe 3 categories: is leadership. What attendance are we getting from the people who are in leadership roles? The next one is, what engagement are we getting in the different subcommittees? Eric knows how many people are engaged in the DWIS stuff, so he can report back on that. And then I think the other engagement is, who are we reaching? As somebody kind of mentioned that, who are we reaching out to? So we can take papers. A paper was published at the drilling conference. There's a head count of people in the room from the co-chairs. So how many people showed up to listen to a paper that's the DSATS paper? A DSATS event, how many people showed up for a DSATS event? And the webinars and things, the numbers are there. I think tracking that can, once you start measuring it, you start to say, where is there a shortfall? We can look at the other ones. The R&D technical section said, if I remember correctly, Greg, they said they got 150 to 200 people on their webinars, which actually they said, and I agree with them, is damn good. Because often webinars are down in the 25 to 50. So they're in the high one, almost 200. So they're actually getting a good response to their webinars. So, and they're about twice the size of us. They're about 4,000 people from what I remember. So I think there's all those different tracks and put them in the 3 categories. And yeah, Demetrius, you're right. But if you're not measuring it, you can't do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Maury, I'll let you go first, and then I'll make one more comment, and we can move on to finance. This is a hot topic.
Just a couple of things. Don't we still have a student member chair?
We do, yes. We have a
Right.
university relations chair.
Right. We need to get them engaged on the student piece is one. And then John and I have been working on the ATCE, the symposium for 26. And I think what we'll talk about it later, but I think what's in our minds is going to align quite well with what you've just talked about and what we'll do there, but I'll talk about that later.
Okay, perfect. You read my mind, Maury, with the university relations chair. I haven't met the gentleman yet. I'll try to reach out to him this week, but I think especially once we have a YP chair nominated, they should be kind of best friends in helping young or, recent graduates transition to young professionals. So I don't know like what that niche should be, and we should definitely work it out, but I would love to see a lot more university engagement from our technical section.
Ask them how we should engage.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Ask them
but
up with it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't Q do the university relations, or have I got that wrong?
It's Dan Suey.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan Suey. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, I got it wrong.
Yeah. And I know like we have fairly strong ties with the Aggies. I'm on the advisory board for Mines Petroleum Engineering Department, so we've got a good in there as well to help build some relationships. So if anybody else has good contacts at any of kind of the major universities, we should definitely engage as well. Okay. All right, Sam, do you want to give a quick update on summary of accounts?
Sure. First of all, I want to talk about the treasurer situation right now. So Robert is still handling the accounts as I'm not a key executive of the accounts yet. We had a hiccup and we are working on it. Hopefully, like in the next few weeks, we get it resolved. As far as the transaction goes, we didn't have a whole lot of activity in the last month from April 10 to May 8th. Only the travel reimbursement for Joel at Ghana. That was the only transaction I could find from Robert. But
Okay.
the account outstandings are displayed on the total assets on the left.
And just
What are
to
we doing with
confirm,
the-
are we totally settled from the March event for like DWIZ transferring from the main account to the DWIZ account?
I think we should be. I did see an email from Greg. I think we should be, but I'll double check with Robert.
Okay.
And the symposiums, I'm also the event that Seraphim organized. I'm not sure if
Yes, yeah, Dimitra Serafima is closing that out with Yasmin. Yasmin gave us some costs that we didn't foresee,
yeah.
but we recategorized them. Well, we sort of foresaw them, but we recategorized them, and it's a bit of an issue about what SPE traditionally paid for and what we paid for. And then the next thing is that some of those costs actually fall under Greg's budget for the AV. So I think there was an email yesterday where it kind of landed, and there's a number. I think Seraphima, she went back to Yasmin. I think it's agreed what they owe us from registrations minus costs.
Yeah.
And then what we're going to ask Greg to reimburse
That's
on
right.
the AV side. So it's
Yeah.
almost done, and I think it's clear.
Sure.
That's right, John. So the number, Greg did send out an email, and the number is $2,832. That's what that's due to us. And I believe since Robert has the access, I'll work with him on getting that.
Okay.
Yep, that's
Thank
correct.
you.
I was just looking at the spreadsheet, and the charges that were that were questionable were a project manager charge, which was an event. It wasn't an SPE staff member. It was the event venue staff. But we decided that should fall under the audio video allowance. So we kind of took that back away. So you ended up with a little more money.
Thank you, Greg. Eric?
That should be it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then Eric, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just you mentioned the Davis event in March. So I guess that the economy should be very simple because there was only income and there was no expenses since everything was covered by EKRBP. So
Yeah,
I guess,
that's right.
That's the simplest math that can be done.
Yeah,
for the
agreed.
economy system.
I think the question was all of the registration fees went into the main account. So we just needed to make sure that it got transferred over here. It may be this big increase from February to April. It's just maybe worth confirming for a sanity check.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Eric. All right.
It should be a little bit more than that because, I mean, that was $65 per person. We had more than 20 people in there, you know. The 20 people.
There were about 60 persons in the attending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, Sam, if you can take an action just to confirm with Robert, maybe we can go through and verify like number of attendance and just make sure that everything's transferred over. And if not, we can get that taken care of this month.
Yep. I'll add that to my action item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Shashi, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys? Sorry, joined late.
All good.
Hey, Sam, quick question on the Drillbotics one. I guess all the student payments have been processed through, right? I see a big drop from April to March. I'm assuming those are all the student payments, right?
Yeah, a lot of travel reimbursements. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Including the last one. Yeah.
That's a good point, Shashi. I mean, this needs to come from the main account. That we had agreed that DSATS will cover those expenses since sponsorship didn't come in. So we don't deplete completely the Drillbotics account.
So I think Robert had some money. I can't remember if it was $5,000 or $6,000, but something around that number. He transferred from the main to the Drillbotics account. So that way we are, all the travel reimbursements are getting directed from the Drillbotics account.
Yeah. But then
Okay.
it should come back to the original balance, Sam.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Demetrius, I think the original balance was only a couple of $100. So it's kind of been pre-funded by Robert moving to 5,000 or whatever.
No. I mean, remember, John, we have 6K in there to finish the documentary of David Gibson.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we need to, I mean, that
So is
money needs to be back there.
Is that December 6,000, or is that we need to add 6,000 more to give to
No,
David?
the
for David?
6,000 of December is raised by David for that documentary. And we need to come back to that balance because we haven't made that payment yet.
Ah, okay. So essentially, all of the charges from December to date are just student travel fees.
And they should come out of the main DSATS account.
Ah, okay, good.
Well,
So I guess
it's-
that's
yeah.
something we need to clarify as well with Enrique.
Yeah, I think it should be reimbursed, Demetrios, so that the main DSATS account pays off what was paid by Drillbotics. And then you
Exactly.
get back to the level where the money is there to pay David because he raised that money.
Exactly.
It just needs somebody, probably Enrique, to do a little balance sheet
Yeah.
and verify it with Robert and Sam. So they're actually telling Blakely, hey, this is correct and this is how it happened. So we don't get lost.
Yeah. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, the money that we owe David Gibson is 6,500.
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay.
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 We paid for the student from Ghana, Joel Mensah, and then there's a separate payment that's been recently made to a wire transfer for the TUC, the team from Germany. And those are the only two that I know of right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the TUC one was on last month's update. Is that correct?
Don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I guess we can go through and sanity check. So we'll work with Enrique to go through and kind of confirm all the travel expenses paid to date, make sure that covers everything, and then make sure that we have enough back in the Drillbotics account to cover the video for David Gibson. When there's been a lot of talk on that. When, I guess, is that charge going to come through and the video be done? Enrique said something like it may be nice to launch the video in line with that webinar. So I guess I can get with him, but I just didn't know timing wise when that was going to be ready.
There is a showing of this that's being made to several individuals. I've seen it. It's quite good. And anyway, they were going to have some people meet with him in Houston, but I don't remember the timing, but it's imminent.
Okay.
And then once everybody's happy with it, he'll figure out how to roll it out. He's going to try to put some teasers together as well so that we can use that kind of to advertise.
Perfect.
Yeah, David told me, I had a chat to him the other day about something else, but he mentioned that he's talking to NOV, David Reed, and someone else. I forget who the someone else is, with the potential that they're offering suitable rooms in buildings in Houston at the same time as ATCE to do a showing of the documentary, because he foresees that the approval from Fred, and Robin's seen it as well, apparently, that gets through and the finances are done and it's ready to launch.
Okay. Just taking a couple notes. Awesome. Okay, does that clear up most expense questions? I think the big is just going over Drillbotics and then DWIS, which are the most recent kind of big expenses going through.
Yeah, I think the important thing, Blakely, is that, as we discussed, and I'm repeating it, I guess, that Enrique does a balance sheet on it.
Correct.
So that then the treasurer knows it's all correct and they're reimbursing correct amounts. But that ought to get stored somewhere. So if somebody comes back to do an audit and says, what happened to this money? There's a a document there, an Excel file or whatever it is that shows it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's, I think the action is that Enrique needs to do the balance sheet and then coordinate with Sam to make sure everything is kosher. And then honestly, similar with DWIZ as well, just to make sure that we have accurate account of all the income generated so that we can move it over to the DWIZ account if it's not already there.
Who's going to tell Enrique to do that?
I will. I can reach out to him.
All right, go ahead.
And I'll CC you on that, Sam, too.
Awesome. Thanks, babe.
All right. So next, we wanted to recognize Serafima. Unfortunately, she's not on the call today. John, did you want to give her a quick shout out? Kind of go over, I just put the slide together, but it was really your nomination here.
Well, yeah, I nominated her, and I think she should end up in Greg's technical section email. Hopefully, Greg, you do that. She did a great job leading our team, our small committee for the symposium. Eric was involved. He was kind of her right-hand man over there. But Serafima really took it on well, got a lot done, handled a lot of things with SPE where new people have come into SPE or not familiar as how these things were handled before, and pursued everything and brought on some really good speakers. So I think it was a great event, and I think there's a lot to attribute to her leadership of it. So congratulations, Serafima. She did a good job.
Absolutely. Greg, is it going to be in your update? Did it make the cut?
I haven't. Did you send me an email with that information?
I did, but I can resend it, or I can just add kind of the slide in there as well.
Yeah, resend it because I may have missed it because I don't remember seeing it.
No
I could
problem
go
at
back
all.
and look through your emails as well. But yeah, I'll get that added.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Fred.
Hey, Greg, I had absolute hell trying to register students through the website. So the next time that you're dealing with SPE London, let's have some kind of beta test of some of the stuff that they come up with before you go live. And I'll volunteer to be a guinea pig.
For the Norway symposiums?
Oh my God, trying to register somebody else as I'm trying to register the students because they don't have the money
Right.
to pay for it. And there were a number of things. I've got several emails that I'd sent to some of the people in London, and I'll be pleased to be the guinea pig because I'm such a snarky little curse word. Anyway, it could sure make a lot of this stuff go easier next year.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but I can find out and
I do
track them down. And send me an email with that contact information.
I'll do it.
And I will get into that.
Okay, perfect. So next we'll talk about leadership updates for the young professional chair or liaison rather. So per SPE, all technical sections will now require young professional liaison as well as regional chairs. We already really have that, so I don't think that's something we need to kind of readdress. Greg, please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think the big need right now is to elect a young professional liaison. It's very timely with what we've all talked about today, talking about both university and young professional engagement. So I think this will really help kind of drive, home our goals of getting more people involved, both from like a committee level and general engagement. So this is just kind of the sanitized SPE description for what the young professional liaison will be doing. It's a 3-year term as well. Just from a lot of the discussions we've had, I put a couple of like what our goals for a YP chair would be, which is fostering young professional engagement, identify technical learning opportunities for both young professionals and potentially university students as well, build a more active YP network within DSATS, or at least kind of have a core group of people, drive involvement from the young professionals in the subcommittees, and then just track and grow YP impact and growth, which will probably be something that we can work with Cody on as well. Is there anything that you guys feel like is missing from our core kind of goals or what we'd like to get out of a YP liaison?
Likely, would
One
this be
thing
a,
I would-
a university student or professional?
I think it needs to be a professional, and that's what I was going to pipe up with. They
Yeah.
also need to have a global presence of some sort, because this cannot be just focused on US America universities and young people. Sorry, young folks in one region. We need to be reaching people and companies across the globe. So I think we need to choose this role carefully as somebody who's part of that group and that age group, but also is in a position where they have influence globally, which will be challenging.
Well,
A very
especially,
strong network.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially, Maury, since there's probably more graduates coming out of Asian and Middle East universities than Western universities, particularly in drilling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can speak for mine specifically. The graduating petroleum engineering, Bachelor of Science class is very low. I think this year it's going to be 50, and that's the largest class that's graduated in the last probably 3 years. So it's definitely something that's a challenge in the lower 48, but hopefully we can find the right person.
I think it's a call to action, Serafima, to for people to identify potential candidates, right?
Correct.
That's what we should do. But that's the
Yeah.
remit. Should be somebody who's got some form of global network or presence, not just localized in one particular region.
Correct.
I nominate Sarah Kern.
Does she have the bandwidth to do that too?
Can she do that?
She does so
Anyway,
much. I never know how she sleeps.
I mean, I don't think she can anyway, right?
Again, there is a conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, conflict of interest there probably.
But I think she'd probably, if she wasn't so loaded with the volunteer stuff, she's probably the right kind of person to look for. Somebody who has a job where they can dedicate some time to it, is in the
She might-
right age bracket and got the drive.
She might know the right person as well with that
Yeah.
network she's got, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
good. Yeah.
I can reach out to her directly. I needed to catch up with her on something else. So I'll see if she has any ideas for nominations. I think this is something that we should definitely try to fill sooner rather than later. SP's guidelines is it needs to be filled by October. But just in line with everything we've talked about, I think the sooner that we get somebody identified, nominated, etc., it's just going to accelerate how we can start getting to work on some of these things. So really, it would be great if we had a pool of people to discuss probably for the next meeting. For some nominations for the position. I know it's hard to think of somebody off the spot other than kind of the unicorns of the world like Sarah, but if you guys have any specifically throughout the next couple of weeks, or if anyone comes to mind or anyone within your network has some good ideas or wants to get involved, send them my way and I'll make sure that they're on our list to kind of review next time. And
Yep.
awesome. Now probably the fun part of the meeting to talk about kind of the refocus of the technical section. I know we spent a good amount of time last month talking about where we make the greatest impact and the potential rename, rebrand. So I've got a couple things to talk about, kind of the two core ideas or namings that we've landed on, and then we'll have an opportunity really quickly to vote at the end just to get a good consensus on which direction we want to take as a group. So the question of why change, I think that's come up quite a few times. Drilling systems automation technical section has been around for quite a long time, and we've accomplished quite a bit. When it was formed, automation was definitely very like at kind of the pinnacle of new technology. It was very exciting, and a lot of work that this technical section did, I think, really helped to accelerate that kind of acceptance, innovation, deployment, etc. But the reality is that's much more standard operating now, and I think the real challenge of this group has grown apart from just automation. So we want to make sure there's not just like a misnomer that all we think about is automation when we're really thinking about the entire system. So it goes back to, we've outgrown our original scope. I think clarity and alignment within just the core team here so that we can figure out how we continue forward. This isn't saying we're not talking about automation anymore, but just really says it's a greater conversation that we need to talk about how all the systems interact to deliver. So the graphic is just kind of a cute, lots of things that we have that we talk about really on a daily basis. And especially if you look at our subcommittees, I think this is all very relevant, right? Our subcommittees aren't specific, just applications within an automated system. It's how you kind of bring all of the actors together to deliver automation, right? So looking at our two options that we kind of consolidated on, I think the two kind of camps are, do we keep the current acronym to retain kind of like the brand strength and the, not credibility, but the kind of firepower that we've had in the past, and expanding the mission to say drilling systems advancement technical section. This really helps kind of broaden our mission, but still retains the DSATS name. And I think may be a little bit easier to transition kind of naming with, since it's not, you know, removing in a letter, it's just changing the name, if you will. So this is number one. Does anyone want to speak on why they really love this option before we move on to the next one?
Not speaking for myself, but repeating Paul Pastusek. I got John McPherson is one way and Paul Pastusek's the other way, and we've had some exchanges and discussions. Paul's reason for this one is that it keeps the brand of DSATS, DSATS, and it's just changing a word in it. John says it's not clear, but I'll give John's explanation next. And then I have a comment about an experience with the a misunderstanding with the research and development technical section, but I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I'll chime in my 2 cents. I agree with Paul and others. I think the DSATS brand is established. You know, it's really an expansion on the mission and a subtle change to the name to reflect that. The way that we can drive that across is with messaging. Just need to, you know, fairly consistently drive the message that it's now broader than just automation. Although automation is a foundational component of it, right? That's my 2 cents.
Sasha, you got more to add?
Yes. I guess I like keeping the DSATS acronym, but if you're rebranding it, then it's going to be hard to market, right? People will still call it DSATS, but then we have to keep correcting everyone saying it's still DSATS, but it's DSATS now stands for something else. So that's where I struggle with. I don't know whether we want to hold that acronym.
I think it's all about the message, right? And the message is that we're not giving up automation. We're expanding the mission. So the A is now advancement rather than just purely automation. And part of the reason for that is, as we've developed the automation solutions, it's become very apparent that the journey doesn't end there, right? So that, I think, it's in the messaging, Sasha, and we would need to put concerted effort into that messaging around the change in mission.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. Go ahead, Nestor.
Yes, my question about expanding the mission and actually is how is the interaction between our section and data section and engineering? That is another technical section. So how, because at some point, part of them overlap with what we are doing. So how the people from SPE is going to identify in which is going to be the best fit for them.
I could talk to that because I used to do this role briefly, and so did John DeWart previously. But The technical section director, the technical director, Sarah, now has regular meetings with all the chairs of the different technical sections. And one of the things that's long been on the discussion there has been the overlap. So there's nothing wrong with overlap as long as we coordinate it, right? And we bring technical sections together where there's overlap so we get it right. I think this is something that can be handled, Nestor, through dialogue with Sarah, and I think, quite honestly, there probably needs to be a little bit more refocus on that. You know, technical section interaction. You brought it up in your email, Blakely, and Demetrius. I'm sure he's been in those meetings previously, as have all the previous chairs, so they're aware of that as well. There is, my point is, there is a mechanism to handle that. We just need to actually use it.
Yeah, Nestor, I think what's happening more, and we have discussed this in DSATS, is collaboration between technical sections. So I think it's less about saying, this is yours, this is ours. Yeah. There's not a massive overlap. And then there are some misunderstandings. The issue that came up the other day with the R&D technical section is they thought DSATS was DSATS. And DSATS is Data Science and Engineering Analytics Technical Section. They used to be called something else, and they changed their name to DSATS. So they caused this confusion. And in an email, I was stunned that this guy didn't understand the difference.
Two technical sections, John. They merged
Sorry?
them. There was two technical sections that merged.
Right, yeah.
But the point is that we are trying to get more people involved. And I understand the collaboration, and it's great. So I think that I've been talking to Shauna, the director of SPE, when she was here in Buenos Aires. And she said that this is great, that we have collaboration between the different technical sections. Actually, she is willing to open a section also in Latin America. But the point is from the point of view of a member, an SPE member, and he has to choose at what technical section he's going to go. So I guess that we have to do some more advice or something explaining already something what we are doing. So what are the limits?
You can do that. I mean, you can be in more than one technical section. I think I'm in 4 or 5. I can't remember.
Yeah,
some I'm active in, some I'm not so much so active in. So I honestly, I think John's point about we need to take the silos out is really the point here, and it's all about collaboration, as you say, Nestor. But it doesn't. You don't have to join one technical section. You can be in more than one.
Yeah, likewise. I'm in more than one. So yeah, I'm active in DSATS, but not the other ones.
And to play devil's advocate too a little bit, Nestor, is before I was involved in the committee side of things, I didn't care what group was doing what. I cared about what the material was and what the activities were, and I bopped around and we'll join certain sections and groups on something that's relevant to me, and then ignore it for a while, and then jump into another one. For example, spend a lot of time in the well integrity management section, and then a little bit on the management if it's something that's relevant to what I'm doing. From maybe a generalized SPE member that isn't part of a committee or part of an individual group. It's the material, it's the quality. And if we want more engagement, it's on us to have that quality material and to bring people to us. That's kind of the way I think it. What matters is it's for us more than the SPE general members, in my opinion.
There's precedence. We've had a long-standing relationship with Wellbore positioning and uncertainty. John, you're very active on both. We've had joint symposiums at times, joint sessions at APCE, and we've worked on things together, right? We have a number of papers that we wrote together on uncertainty management. So it's definitely doable. The key is the coordination of it.
Yeah, and Robert's here as a board member, so he's a leading figure in wellbore positioning technical section. So that's the way you get the crossover happening.
Yeah. We talked about that previously, I think, a few years back, appointing liaisons to certain technical sections, but it kind of fizzled out, right? Because
yeah, but Maury, I think we should just do it. I was on the R&D annual meeting. They had a virtual annual meeting giving a report out on their activities. Very, very good report. They got, like I said, I think about 4,000 members. They're getting upward of 150 to 200 people at their webinars. Many of their webinars are hosted by them with other technical and regional sections. So they often do it with DSATS and they do it with the Gulf Coast. So they actually combine together for their webinars and get a bigger reach.
yeah, I agree. I think the key is just not to think about appointing one from every technical section, but to pick the ones where we're having collaboration or we need to, or have some overlap, right? And
yeah, and then the drilling director, so Sarah coming up, Robin now has DSATS, wellbore positioning, DUPS, and geothermal. So those are falling under the drilling technical director, and that can bring some form of collaboration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Demetrios, did you still have something to
Yeah.
add? Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment here. There was a meeting, informal meeting, social, last month. Sushma, one of the ladies that she's a director, one of the technical directors. She was a technical section, now she's a director. She hosted it in her house, and Robin Macmillan invited me to go. I went there, and it was several people. It was an SP meeting. So Susan Hayes was there as well, who is the president-elect for 2027, and many of the other technical directors and a few technical section leaders. And it was about promoting, the strategy of SP, etc. But the point I want to make is that many of these guys, they were very much interested in collaboration between technical sections. And that included, for this discussion here, they included the management technical section, the R&D technical section, and the geothermal technical section. And I think we have a touch points with all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a discussion internal in DSATS about staying strictly technical or trying to help make the business case, if you want, or identify the business benefits for automation. And how do we push the industry forward, to put the white elephant in the room that we have been saying for years and years and years. So there may be something there that we can benefit from if we talk to the management technical section. They have 10,000 members, these people. If we open the discussion, maybe we can get some support, to push our course forward with making the case for automation, Just an idea, but the appetite is there across the board, for collaboration between technical sections.
maybe we're drifting a little bit here because the slide is not automation. It's discussing the expanded remit. I agree with all of this. I think I'd make one last comment to Nestor's point is appointing liaisons won't cut it. We tried that in the past, that didn't work. You need to find a reason and something you can hang your hat on and do some work. And it will happen.
Robert, you want to go ahead?
You are muted, Robert.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to shift my screen to a different place so I could actually look at you directly when I was talking. My point, I'm just concerned. I think the name of the section should be reflecting the mission. And I think maybe we're getting things back to front here. I think we should be looking at what we're trying to do. We've all been about automation the whole time. And I think if we're losing that focus by diluting our message and our mission, we're not going to be able to be successful. That's one point. The other point is this is not about getting membership. This is about getting active workers to progress what we're doing and get people engaged and helping out with the subcommittees and the work that we're trying to accomplish.
I agree with that. Actually, we have something coming up on that. We'll discuss what we're doing at the next symposium event. Maybe that will kind of help drive some answer. I don't think this is a quick thing. Needs careful thought, as you said. The only thing I would say is one of the challenges I see is that automation falls differently as you move across the systems, right? And it's maybe a domain in certain places in the system, but it's just the technology component elsewhere that nobody even has a strategy on it, right? It's just technology that you use. So I think we may have a path forward on this with the symposium that might help here.
Hey, so Robert, to reflect back, your point is very much John McPherson's point. So the next slide, actually, I know it shows an alternative, but to come back to that, hey, on the management technical section, they have 10,000 members, but we've got to remember that everybody in the management discipline was rolled into the management technical section. So they just got rolled into it. And the second thing is they are actually going through a process to rename themselves. They're starting out with some voting and things. Their problem is that everybody comes or views them as management being an extremely broad topic, but they really are focused more on asset management. So they're going to rename themselves to get more of a focus back to field development, asset decision making, et cetera, and of course, drilling systems needs to liaise with those people because they are the recipient of a well and what the well can produce and generate for their asset.
That would make them the dam technical section, yeah.
The what?
Just the dam technical section. Rolling asset management. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I still can't get over the way that John said DSATS is so nice and professional. I always pronounce it DSATS.
Yeah, me too. It's deceit. Yeah.
For a second, I was like, what technical section is? Oh, okay.
Buddy, you're so subsurface. You're so drilling focused, rig equipment focused.
Yeah,
Assets are not just the drilling part of it.
No, I'm not drilling focused. You're wrong on that. And I know exactly what assets are. I've worked in that space for 3 years now in integrated projects. Don't worry. I'm with you, Robert.
It's the GAMI function. It's the GAMI section, the global asset management.
Hey, Blakely, watch out when these Scotsmen get together and start slanging each other. They're both from the same damn place.
I went to the same school, I think, as well, didn't we?
Oh, that's too funny. That's even worse.
No, I didn't go to that
See if I
school.
can
I went to the better school.
Okay, Eric, do you have something that you wanted to chime in on the advancement before we go to the next option?
Just thinking that actually we could keep the name, but just promote that we have, if the point is to show that we break silos, to have more subcommittees which are across different technical sections. We have had that in the past with this drilling data quality and certainty description subcommittee, which was across DSATS and wellbore positioning technical section and the drilling and certainty prediction technical section. And I think these types of subcommittees across multiple technical sections shows that we are not limited to our own borders, and that may be a way just to, to show that.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good point and something that we probably need to revisit, thinking about like the subcommittees and what they're all working on and what their kind of charge is, right? Some are very clear, some are, I think, a little probably muddy today. Fred, you want to go ahead? Last comment. I'm going to cut us off and bring us to option 2, because I know there'll be some discussion there.
Okay. All I was after was, I stepped out for a minute, so I may have missed some stuff, but I don't know what advancement means. do we know what it means right now, or is this something we're going to develop?
Yeah, so I'll go back and
Yeah, I
talk
saw
about kind
that.
of okay, you saw the why. Okay, so then you just
It's
missed a bunch
pretty-
of kind of discourse and discussion around advancement. So I think it really goes back just to expansion. It's like automation is really not all that we talk about and not our primary mission. It's a part of it, but it isn't solely focused. Maury, I think you were trying to speak up too as well.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it that way. Fred makes a really good point here that's a process, not a thing, or even an outcome. Per se, it's a bit vague. And if I'm somebody who's got specific problems, when I read that, how do I even know that that's going to help me at the right place to go? I think Fred, that's quite a good point there. Sorry.
I'm not against the rebranding at all. Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that we know what we're talking about and that other people understand us. That's all.
I think it's a really good point, Fred, because we always look at it from the inside out, but if I'm somebody on the outside coming in, how do you tell me what this section does? In 30 seconds reading it, it probably doesn't, to be honest.
Fair.
And that's okay, Maury. This is an action item we need to figure out in the future.
The issue is it's force fitting a word beginning with A to keep DSATS. If you drop the A, you get a different solution.
Yeah, I think just to maybe a quick reminder on what the A options we had talked about last time. We voted on quite a bit after had like a poll of adding a couple of A options. Advancement was far and above the highest voted. Adaptation, analytics, and applications were all pretty close after. I think analytics is too close to what DSATS is working on, and I think it's better to kind of cross over and work with them on that than try to use that as our kind of primary focus. Maybe applications is a better one, to your point, Fred, that it's focused on.
No. My point is stay with advancement. That's fine. But find a way to tell what it means.
Yeah.
Okay?
In a
And if you can't say it today, that's okay. You just sit here and say, let's define it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Agreed. And I think this, I don't know, we kind of talk ourselves in circles here. I don't know if anyone gets the same feeling, right? Because the whole driver for a rebrand is that it just seemed like the mission for the technical section was now very muddy because we were all kind of running down different paths or just wasn't very clear, right? And maybe that's just by perception. Please correct me if I'm wrong, right? I think settling on a name is important so we can reestablish, like you said, Fred, a very clear vision and a mission statement for the section to say what we are working on and have that very clear, like 2-sentence, this is what we do as a technical section.
So maybe the way to
So in summary, don't go out and say this is what our new name is until we've got the message.
Absolutely, yes. And that's why we've said that like messaging is critical, right? So let's come to an agreement on what where we want to move, and then we talk about how we get there for sure. This isn't okay, we vote on this today, we're changing it tomorrow. This just gives alignment on where we want to move towards.
Yeah, we
That
should
answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, this is just listening. I was out, I came back in. So really what you're after here is something called the drilling systems technical section, right? So that's actually the focus, is the drilling systems piece. And this A is getting to be a problem. So either you ignore it and just call it DSATS, the drilling systems technical section. Oh.
So
yeah,
that was
like
option 2. We just haven't gotten to option 2 yet.
Okay, I'll shut up and listen.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I think it's perfect. You can kind of give some merit to DSTS opposed to DSATS.
This makes sense. Just call it DSATS, but it's a drilling systems technical section. If you want to keep the name, that's the thing. But if you want to call it DSTS, it's also good. But this is what you're after, right? Is this drilling systems piece? Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Listening to the discussion and then the issue about getting mixed up with DSATS or DSATS or whatever the hell damn things are called, it might be simpler just to do this DSTS. Just get it done, move on. I think it's time that we close this discussion out and actually build the package that communicates what it's all about and where the section's going.
Correct.
Agree.
Okay.
But I think John,
Yeah.
as I mentioned when he was out, John's very much in favor of this. He argues strongly for this solution.
Okay. So let's go ahead and vote unless anyone has any strong opinions that we want to say for or against. It seems like we're all more or less aligned, but similar to what we did last time, we'll do a quick poll over on Mentimeter. If you guys are able to scan that QR code. If it's not working, let me know.
So we're going ahead with this vote, even though we don't know what the mission is yet, correct?
Correct.
I'm not. I'm going to play wait and see.
Yeah, I think this is cart before the horse. I think the mission should be the priority first. Define what it is.
Can you put the code back, please?
Sure.
Yeah, so
I'm
I'm also
can't
abstaining.
Figured out how. Sorry. I'm technically challenged. Sorry.
Seems with the couple that are abstaining, this is probably all the votes we're gonna get. Is that fair?
Not
Maybe.
abstaining, get it to work.
Sorry, go ahead.
Not abstaining, just cannot get it to work.
Ah, okay. Looks like we got.
Are you too old, Maury, or just not digitally aware?
It's unfortunately, I think both now, if I'm truthful. Right.
It's the school he went to.
Yeah. Same school as your brother before you start. Yeah.
Hey, we'll ship you a slide rule if you want to go that route.
Stones in the pocket, remember? That's how you can.
Oh, that's what cricket umpires did, wasn't it? Yeah. Counting an over with coins or something.
Old school chip count as well. Like a bottles.
Yeah.
Got 10. It looks like 2 maybe haven't voted. Now or forever hold your peace, I guess. Even if I guess the 2 more vote, I don't think it's gonna sway too far. Sounds like we're all more or less in agreement on DSTS. But before anything moves forward, we need a clearly established mission to figure out or to continue on the process of planning to like go about this kind of shift in focus. Fair? Just since we're already at 9:40, I think that's something that we can table for the next meeting. Maybe we can have some discussions via email or meet separately just to specifically start to kind of plan that out. Just so that we don't leave it to have a big discussion in the next meeting. Maybe we can have some discussions in the in-between. But we'll keep this as kind of context for what we talk about next time.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think maybe a starting point for the verbiage is to go to the current definition of the purpose of DSATS and see how to modify that to enhance the scope. And that can become like the mission statement.
Yeah, I like that.
I think another starting point too is like we talked about a lot of collaboration across technical sections. What I did, and we looked at this list in the last meeting, is I'm looking at what the other technical sections are, and perhaps another way to look at it is where do we want to fit in this picture? What's our mission in comparison to the others? You know, and I dropped it in the chat here, but if we're the only drilling people, then maybe we can keep it broad. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, just something to look at is how do we feel like we should fit amongst the rest of the technical sections?
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. So maybe that's something that we can, and also thinking about kind of where we want to make sure that it's like a collaborate focus versus where we want to do a lot of maybe individual work, right?
Yeah, it's one of the challenges of the way that SPE is set up with the different domains. So our technical section sits in the drilling domain, which has a number of drilling technical sections, but really our remit isn't just drilling, right? And that's kind of somewhat the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I
See,
think
that's what I was wondering myself, Maurice, hence the mission, right? Like, you know, those are different facets of our mission is where are we drawing our border lines? I assumed, you know, kind of being new, being involved in this, I assumed we were strictly sticking with drilling. But if we're not, hey, starting from scratch here a bit.
Yeah, and where does it begin and end anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I think the issue is that the drilling equipment and drilling engineers get involved with well construction, drilling and completion, heavy intervention and abandonment. So separate it. I mean, when the split was made between drilling and completions as technical disciplines in SPE, it was probably the wrong move, considering the way these things are changing today to look more and more at life cycle of wells.
Yeah.
That could be another feedback to Sarah, honestly, is say, hey, time for a power move, take it all.
I don't think we try and solve the SPE side of it. I think we just look at this and say, what makes the most sense? The key word is drilling, the key word is systems. How do we describe where this technical section can contribute to delivering more value and lower costs in wells? And then articulate it and just get on with our own stuff.
Yeah. Theon, I'm sure I butchered your name, but I think you were next.
No, not at all. It's correct.
Crushed it.
So yeah, good. I did take part here a good while ago, and good to see and hear people again. Definitely. So just one comment, definitely not an answer, but just maybe something of relevance. So I did write on it in the chat, about it in the chat. So cybersecurity, I mean, it's part of the system as such because it's a process ongoing in the system, which you need to account for. So as such, it's part of the drilling system. So it could be something to consider. I don't know if it's of relevance to the group, but that's one of my main reasons for coming in again, also because I have time. But maybe that could be something to discuss, and I'd be happy to contribute there. We're working on it in our hardware in the loop facilities at the moment, and we're going to study attacks and how to diagnose them, how to understand them, and also actually understand the risk, so that you're not shutting down unnecessarily. So these kind of things. So I'd be happy to contribute with that.
Yes, so
Moving ahead.
Fionn, you need to look across at IADC. IADC
I
did a
know.
lot of work with Siv Hovda
Yes.
on cyber security. She loved the idea of attacking drilling rigs, right?
Yeah,
that's
we
right.
we have to be careful there though as well. I mean, we touch on that one because there are some standards out there, and we're more and more increasingly seeing they're sticking to the IEC standards is what's coming at us with 62443 in particular. And the remit should be one that it really pairs with that. I mean, maybe it's educational rather than setting standards or anything like that, or identifying opportunities. I think Fion's what you're saying, opportunities
Awareness.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and I am aware of the IADC, and I'm actually working with Steve as well. So yeah, but it could be something of value for DSATS or DS.
I just spent the last 2 days in meetings, and that's all we talked about. So I think it's very relevant.
There you go.
Yeah. So too. And then Robert.
And always love your Norwegian accent. Anyway,
thanks, Robert.
I not hate to recycle the conversation stuff like that, but based on Murray's comments, I wonder if rig systems automation is more appropriate than we've been about drilling, but like you say, that extends into things like completions, running casing, etc., etc., etc. And I'll leave it at that.
I don't hate it, but I'm certainly biased because that's my space entirely. So I don't know if I don't know if everyone would agree, but I do think that kind of expands it too in a nice way. Okay. As a time check, we're at 9:46. I know Eric was going to give a subcommittee update just to give him the most amount of time. Eric, do you mind if I run through like the upcoming events and then I can hand it over to you
Sure.
to more or
No
less
problem.
close things out? Okay.
Just while you're doing that, Blakely, I'd like to congratulate Eric on a fantastic presentation he made to the V-Door Locksmith show 10 days ago or something. Forget exactly. It's available on YouTube from David Gibson's channel. It was absolutely incredible about the sort of history and development of automation. It's an hour and 15 minutes. He didn't overrun. He told David it was going to be longer, but it was an excellent, Eric. It was really a great presentation.
Thank
really
you.
good.
Thank you.
I posted it on LinkedIn and David
I
chipped
saw
in.
that, yeah.
One of the best. Yeah. So I think people should go watch it.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it was really great. I had the opportunity to finally watch it over the weekend. It was good. Those Friday morning segments, I think, are always hard. Our Fridays have turned into quite a busy day, but I always try to watch them after the fact. So just a quick touch on upcoming events. So the submissions are open for next year's IDC SPE joint conference. The submission deadline is June 26th. So just wanted to put out kind of the reminder that, bring your best work. It's all very exciting. And I think it'll be a really interesting conference too. Looking at what was presented in Stavanger, I'm excited to see what will come next year as well. There's a lot of exciting things happening, kind of cross industry, and this should be no different for sure. Added the upcoming event for the DWIS demo. Eric, please correct me. I saw this date was different than what was on the DWIS calendar, so I'm hoping that this one is accurate. But June 1st-ish will be the next DWIS demo. Obviously, keep an ear out for updates on that one. Should be very exciting, but I'll leave it for Eric to talk through more when he gives the subsection update or subcommittee update. Drillbotics will be doing a co-sponsored webinar between DSATS, GCS, and ourselves. It'll be going over real-time autonomous drilling, talk a lot about what the teams did last year at the Drillbotics competition, and then also highlight what's to come for next year's event. That's on the 27th from 10 to 11. I think the email already went out. If you haven't gotten the link already, let me know and maybe we can send it out with the follow-up for this meeting just so that everybody has it. With that, I will hand it over to Eric. Eric, I compiled it if you want to go through in this deck or if you want to present from your own just so you can drive.
You
I've got
can
no
you can
problem.
share since you are sharing, so you can use what you have.
Perfect.
Yeah, I will go quick. So since there is 10 minutes left, so and many people on the call knows about all this. So the why for what we do with drilling interoperability. There are several quotes that I've used actually, which is important and which are motivating the way we prepare the demonstration. The first one is from Zoom and Guyenne from ConocoPhillips, which is every rig is special, so automating a rig is a complete engineering project. It should be just a software installation. But so there is a need for having something which is helping having seamless installation at the rig site. The second quote is from Robert van Kunenburg, which is about or connected actually to cybersecurity. That actually there are so much barriers for installing things and for avoiding problems with cybersecurity that it's almost impossible to work. And actually, the point he made was actually we need to have systems which are much more resilient, so that if there is something which is failing, so we can still continue doing operations. And the third point is there are systems, automated drilling control systems, which are available from many vendors. The problem is that they open for external advisors, but as soon as one external advisor take the control of the machine, so no other external advisor can continue to do some control of the machine. So there is a lack of coordination between multiple advisors, and that's also a motivation for the work we are doing in interoperability. And then there are many companies working at the rig site, and we want also to exploit as much as possible information transfer between the different companies, as at the moment they are working in silos, and they can't benefit actually from all the information which is available from other companies. And the last point is that actually if we want to do things progress into data-driven solutions, so we need to have ways to interpret and understand actually the data which are exchanged at the rig site in a computer fashion, and not having people labeling things and wiring actually which data is where and how it should be used. So that's the reason why we have this work on interoperability. If you go to the next slide. And based on that, we try to put together a definition, which that you can see here. And there are some elements of that definition which are important, like, for example, the fact that the systems are exchanging meaningful information, meaning that it can be interpreted by computer systems, both at present and in the future. So actually, we should try to avoid to have multiple versions of the solution that we are developing, or limit the number of versions as much as possible. And if we look at the other solutions that has been developed so far, like with ML, there has been many versions, and it takes so much time actually to implement those versions at the rig site, and so therefore we should try to limit as much as we can. And then the communication between the different systems should be available without you having prior knowledge on each characteristic of the elements, so that there is a dynamicity in the interoperability, which is quite important. So having that in the background, so you can go to the next slide. So yeah, next slide. So we have been working with Davis for some time now, and we have started a certain number of demonstrations over 2 years. So starting this year, So demo 0, which happened the 28th of February, was really to have multiple providers of information, including Halliburton, Baker Hughes, and Secal, to communicate through the infrastructure of the Davis. The drilling control system was one that we made at North, so it was not really one commercial one. So the first demonstration which we are using a true commercial DSATS system was the one from Between here in Norway. That was a demonstration based on hardware in the loop simulations, which included both simulations from drilling and Between for the DCS provider. And we extended the number of advisory system with one from Petrobras. And interesting point of this demonstration that it was geographically spread around the globe, both in Stavanger, in Rio de Janeiro, and Celle in Germany. So that was quite interesting setup actually for doing the demonstration. So the next demonstration is planned so far in 6th of June. So I think there is confusion between 1st and 6th, but it's in June at least. And that will be based on the NOV systems, Novos. And that will also include all the different providers of advisory systems that we have had so far, but that will expand on management of unexpected situations. And then not really fixed date for demo number 3 in August. That will happen at HMH facilities in Kristiansand. That will be using the deal ADCS. And then the focus will be on dynamic changing of conditions. So if someone can change to the next slide, so I think I will quickly go to the second part of those demonstration, which is the active demos. And the first one will be at our test rig, Ulrich, which is in Stavanger, and it is planned at the end of 2025. And then we will be using Davis for 2 weeks, doing a drilling experiment in a 1200 meters long well. And that will be using Novos from NOV. And then in 2026, so we will have a second active demo, which will be done on a semi-submersible deep sea Stavanger that will be operating on the field Yggdrasil, which is operated by Aker BP. So that will be also a very last test actually that we do for the testing. So if you go quickly to maybe not the next slide, but the next one, yeah, one more time. Yes, one more time. So that is just to show that the demo 1 that was happening just about a month ago, so was really distributed with many different companies running their own system and communicating with this notion of a blackboard, which were replicated, and that did work very well actually with this way of working. And then if you go to the next slide, we had the workshop March 7. There was about 40 people in the room and a dozen of people online. I shall mention that for the 2 demos, demo 0 and demo 1, there were more than 60 persons online. So that was good attendance. And if you go to the next slide, yeah, the next one. So there are video recordings of both the workshop and the demonstration. So if anyone want to look at those recordings, so just contact me and I can give you access if you don't have access from before. There is a lot of documentation on Davis. So both on the website, it's possible also to look at all the source code, which is freely available to everyone, and which is stored on GitHub. And then if you go to the previous slide, so we have already published quite a few papers that are listed here. So we try to document as much as we can actually the work that we do in Davis, and I think that the time is up. So you can go to the conclusion slide, maybe. Yes. So we had two demos. There was demo 0 and demo 1. The first one focused on the concepts of the architecture. The demo 1 focused on the standard DCS procedures. And then the next demo will focus on protection functions like for detection, isolation and recovery, and safe operating envelopes. And the demo 3 will focus on dynamic management. And then we will have actually covered the whole set of functionalities of Davis. And then we will have the active demos, both at Ulrich and on DeepSea Stavanger. So that's all I have since the time is up. Fred, yes.
Yeah, Eric, send me the actual links and
Yeah,
I'll
I
get them
can
on
do
the
that.
website, okay?
Yeah. Yes, that's all.
So, well, I think that is it for today. I apologize, Eric, for my American education there. Just it's a habit that we flip-flop the month and the day, but I'll get that corrected on the slides before they get sent out too. That it's June 6th, not June 1st.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. I guess, does anyone have anything else? I know we're right at 10:01, so I don't want to take up any extra time. I guess speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we'll adjourn and we can we'll send out some follow-up information and probably have quite a few side conversations in between this meeting and the next, just to talk about missions, some of the finance stuff, as well as some of kind of membership website updates as well.
I think it's probably good. Oh yeah, go on, Maury. Go.
Yeah, thanks for an update on the ATCE symposium officer meeting and next year's symposium. It's SPEIDC, right?
Yes.
You still want that?
Well, you had said you didn't have an update for today, so that's why I didn't have you on the agenda.
But I didn't have slides. I was going to talk to him.
Fair.
I don't
right.
like doing slides, me. That's just busy time. So just quickly, I'll keep it really brief. So we have a booked a room for we always have an in-person board and officers meeting at ATC. So we have a room booked. As soon as I get the details on that, I'll send those over to you. Blakely, Greg will send those. It's in progress. For the networking event, we're going to follow the same remit as we did last year. John and we're just trying to figure out who we're actually going to have speak at the moment and what they'll talk about. It's kind of an intro, same format, so like a 30-minute stand and deliver on something from a key executive, and then just general networking afterwards. For the 2026 event, we have a small committee of Paul Pisticic, myself, John DeWart, Tatiana, and Blakely. You're also sort of plugged in and listening, where we've got the usual sort of upfront technical section business to cover, but what we're thinking is we actually break it out and we define, we do like a process of helping to define what the roadmap for whatever we call ourselves should be, right? So we're coming up with a proposal for that we'll bring back to the board and officers here to review. It's ongoing. It's going well.
Yeah, both promise to be some pretty exciting events. I think everything that everyone's kind of thought about for next year's symposium is really perfectly aligned with what we've been talking about. So should be very exciting. It's almost as like I wish we could do it sooner and we didn't have to wait until next March, but it'll still be really exciting.
we're going to make it an interactive session. So we've done that before at these events, and it's always worked really well. So what we'll do is we'll probably have themes, and then we'll have different tables define the challenges, and then the challenges can become the mission, right, or feed into it. The key is getting the themes defined properly and the question. So we will expand that and add more people to this. We wanted to keep a small team till we have a handle on exactly what we're doing. At that point, we'll probably reach out to get people who are willing to participate and become involved. Okay, and we'll expand it.
Yeah. Good deal. Okay. With that, we're only 5 minutes over, so I think that's a success. If you guys have anything else that you guys want to add or communicate with the group, let me know. Or if we need to spin off and talk about anything else between now and June at our next meeting. I appreciate y'all's time today. I'll get with Riem and make sure that we have all of kind of the action items consolidated, because we talked about a lot of important actions that needed to be taken. And I'll maybe send that out to the group just so that everybody has a chance to look at them and just make sure that we didn't miss anything.
Cool.
Appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Blakely. Good meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.